So Jax has basically made this update saying they wanted to clarify some things up about AHK and mouse keys and whether or not you can use them. And basically they said that you can't use AHK, but you can use mouse keys, but you can use other programs besides mouse keys if you use it to remap a key to another button, which doesn't make any sense because that's pretty much what everyone used AHK to do anyways. So by that logic, we can still use AHK, but you've got people getting banned for, supposedly using AHK, high-ranking players. So the whole situation is pretty fucked up. They tried to clarify it, and they actually ended up making it even more fucking confusing than it already was. They never really said that AHK was okay before. There was some mods that said, oh, you can use it as long as it's 1-to-1, but then there's other mods that say, no, you can't use it at all. But we all just kind of figured, we'll just use it because nobody's really getting banned for it. So, it's clearly, and they know that everyone's using it and they don't care. So clearly, it's fine. We'll take the chance. But now that you've got people actually getting banned for it, we really could use some better fucking clarification, and that really is not what this is. This actually, like I said, makes it even more confusing. And I think the problem stems from the fact that a vast majority of the community doesn't use AHK because you don't really need AHK if you're playing the game, casually, and not going for best, XP rates, max EHP, and that sort of thing. And I think that there's a general misunderstanding by these people who don't use AHK as to what it actually is, and they think that it's an unfair advantage, even though of course it's a free program. They could just download it themselves and use it as well. And also I think they probably hear words like script, like, oh, what AHK script are you using, and that sort of thing, and it kind of has a negative connotation to it. And they think it's like a bot. And truth be told, you can make a bot on AHK because it's basically just, it's basically just a programming language. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can put an infinite loop in it, and have it do all sorts of things. You can, your script doesn't have to be 1-to-1. You can make it so you press one button and it clicks 50 times or something like that. But pretty much everybody agreed that that was definitely not okay. So we've all been using 1-to-1 scripts, with the exception of a few people use diagonals, which are technically 2-to-1 because you can only go like up and down. So if you're going diagonally, then you're going up and down in the same click. So it's kind of like 2-to-1. Personally, I never really saw the use for diagonal scripts anyways, so I never used them. But really the frustrating thing about this for me is the fact that they say you can't use AHK, but you can use mouse keys. And this is frustrating to me because they're pretty much the exact same thing for at least how we've been using AHK. We pretty much use it as mouse keys, except for instead of having to press the numpad, which is obviously on the far right side of your keyboard typically, which is very uncomfortable, we prefer to bind it to keys like 1, 2, 3 on the number pad above the letters on your keyboard, or like QWE or something like that. So that way our hand can be in a more comfortable position, and also we'd rather press the keys horizontally instead of vertically like you have to with mouse keys. So it's just kind of a convenience thing really, but it's pretty much the exact same thing with mouse keys. And the really frustrating thing about it here is they say that you can use it, you can only use your operating system's default mouse keys program, which kind of course begs the question, well, what if later on they make an operating system that has AHK on it, which I doubt obviously, but it just seems a little arbitrary. Like, why does your operating system decide what program you get to use to play RuneScape? I mean, it seems pretty stupid. But also it says unless you use it to remap a key to another button. So that's mostly what people are using AHK for anyways. So by that logic, you can still use AHK as long as you only use it to remap one key to a different button. So if you did that, you could technically combine AHK and mouse keys to basically continue doing exactly what you're doing, still pressing QWE to, drop something or withdraw something from the bank or whatever, while having, mouse keys open as well to basically have that do the actual pressing and technically, can continue doing it. But here's the problem. Obviously, Jax is not going to be able to tell the difference between people doing that and people just using, AHK by itself. And I think the really annoying thing about this is that Jax assumes that we are naive enough to believe that they can somehow magically tell the difference between whether we're using AHK and mouse keys. But luckily, some of us are not that naive, and we realize that they're basically the exact same thing, and that there's no way Jax can actually tell the difference. So this wouldn't be an issue, except for the fact that you've actually got high-ranking players being banned right now, like NYJ, for supposedly using AHK. So, it wouldn't really be an issue that it's a gray line, a gray area, if people weren't getting fucking banned left and right. But now that they are, we really need some clarification. A lot of people aren't using, mouse keys at all right now because, they're worried about getting banned, and they want Jax to clear this up a lot more. And at the same time, you've got, lots of the, majority of the casual community just, celebrating Jax because, they've pissed off the high-ranking players who they don't like anyways. And it's kind of just a fucked up situation, really. So I thought I would basically weigh in on it. And in my personal opinion, I wouldn't really even give a shit if they just said, look, you can't use any third-party programs at all to move your mouse or click or anything like that while you're playing RuneScape. But the thing that's annoying to me is that they make a distinction between mouse keys and AHK when they're pretty much the same exact thing. They're both third-party programs that you're using to move your mouse and click for you in the game with your keyboard instead of your mouse. So that's really the big issue I have, and of course the other ironic thing about it is that all these people who are saying, oh yeah, good for them, they don't let those fucking people continue to AHK, and make the game easier. And of course all these people use OS Buddy, and now with like the OpenGL thing, you can one click, run to the Astral altar or run to the ZMI altar. And of course those people will have no problem with stuff like that, and OS Buddy, adding all sorts of features that make the game far easier, or even updates to the actual game. Like for example, back in the day, if you wanted to pickpocket like an NPC, you had to actually right click it and go down to pickpocket and then pickpocket it. Whereas now you can literally just get rid of the attack option, and then just left click it, and nobody has any problem with that. When it's that obviously makes the game far easier than people who just use AHK. So that's the thing that's annoying to me. I think that most people who are against AHK don't really understand it. I mean, if you're against AHK but you're fine with mouse keys, then clearly you do not understand what AHK is and how people are actually using it, because it's really just a slightly more convenient mouse keys. Like it's easier to just have different scripts for like one for dropping, one for withdrawing, that sort of thing, so you can switch through, which you could obviously do with mouse keys, but you'd have to remember exactly what setting it is for each thing that you're doing, and you'd have to actually go into your control panel and do that. Whereas with AHK, you just open a different script and you're doing a different task. So it really doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, I think there's much bigger issues as far as the game being made easier right now that people need to be concerned about, other than AHK. But again, that's That's just my personal opinion, so I figured I'd give you my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think about the whole situation, and I will see you guys later.